What's good, what's good, what's good? Saladin Salam for Connor Corso, Connor Depressor, Neapolitan Mastino Historical Talk. I am the founder of that group. I made a lot of YouTube videos. This is a new one. And I want to today's topic is going to be, is the DNA a hoax or not? I'm going to give my perspective. And again, it's up to you to research. So with that being said, let's begin. Is the DNA a hoax? My perspective of that is, it is absolutely a hoax. How can I say that? Well, one, it's virtually impossible to say that the Corso and the Neo was never the same breed. Historically, that's not the truth. Historically, that's not the truth. Historically, that is not the truth. I didn't just say that. INSEE said that. INSEE is the first Italian breed club in Italy. There's documentations indicating that the two dogs were the same dogs. There's pictures that are indicating that the two dogs were exactly the same dogs. So with that being said, let me give you a little tidbit of history, because some of you might know, some of you might not know, but let's get the tidbit. Well, first of all, there's a controversy going on with this. Today's Neapolitan Mastiff is not, I repeat, it's not the same former dog that the Roma Penasis was, or that the traditional Neo and the Corso was. It's a totally different dog with totally different looks. They'd be overly exaggerated. That's causing the dog to have a lot of health issues and problems. These dogs were bred for to be estate guardians. This is the truth. The Corso was bred to be the farm dog. The Corso was bred to be the farm dog. Carefully listen. The Corso made the Neapolitan Mastiff. I'm going to get into that in a minute. So, history depicts, or it shows, because now you have to start studying history, human history and dog history, and the two are intertwined, and the DNA has to match that. And if the DNA is going against the grain of that, it shows and proof that the DNA aspect of things is a hoax. So what happened in Italy? France take over Italy after the Renaissance in the 1400s. They lose control. Spain takes over for a little while. Then France regains power and had control of Italy 1500s all the way to the 1900s. So with that being said, these French that lived in Italy, Naples was one of their strongholds. So they would send for their fighting dog, which was the Birdo, and the Birdo in its traditional form. And the Birdo in its traditional form was still a big, imposing dog, cleaner muzzle, and could fight well. Good guardian estate dog. Not saying rustic Corsos weren't good at start guardian estate dogs, because they were. But again, the French employed these dogs over. The two dogs bred together periodically. So now there's not a problem with that. Still in all, the watchdog, the watchman's watchdog, which was the dog was called, were the state guardians. These dogs started to have a different look from rustic corsos. The pug was introduced into Europe 1400s. So now the pug is taking effect. The monarchs own the dogs, so this makes the commoners want to own the dog as well. The commoners weren't allowed to own the dogs, so the the monarchs, slave class, or the people that work for the monarchs were able to get favors, so certain, they get the dogs, and they started breeding these dogs until they're working dogs, which end up disastrous. The bulldog change, later on, the mastiff change. France gets involved in the bulldog with the pug infusion, and their dog is starting to change. So now, when their dogs are starting to change, still Italy is still importing periodically sometimes these birdos to be bred with corsos. And some of the corsos started getting this dewlaps in the face. Critiquing traits is very important, and learning where the traits are coming from and what time period. Before that, you see no statues, no paintings, and no photographs of the dogs. I'm talking about corsos having excessive dewlaps on the face. Around the throat area, yes, because this was done on purpose with the Molossola dog, was to keep wolves from biting the jugular. Of course, they had the spike collars, etc., but the excess skin around the throat was to keep wolves from biting the jugular. So the dog would still be able to defend itself. The wolf is definitely a formidable animal to go against. They're very smart, very intelligent, very intelligent. Wolves kill dogs, and wolves usually hunt in packs. So they bait the dog to come off the land, and if the dog is not in the pack, they'll pile up on the dog, and they usually will kill the dog. So it took a tough dog and a smart dog to kill wolves effectively. So with all this being said, back to the birdo. Birdos being crossed over. Some of the corsos are being crossed with birdos. This is where the birdo gets its auburn coat from. True factor. Fighting Dog Breeds book. Fick Dietrich, when he's giving you the history of the birdo, he'll indicate that. He'll definitely say that in the book. And again, you can see it. You can see it. So now, certain breeders have two different strands. You have the majority of the people in Italy have the rustic corso, and then you have some that have the watchman's dog or the watchman style of dog with the excess dewlaps on the face, but it wasn't really hanging down too much. So as time progresses, we're gonna get into the 1900s. Another enthusiast from Sweden. He's looking for the Italian Molossola. He found some, and now he wants to establish and make a breed of it. Pario Scanzi. And so with Mr. Scanzi, he's trying to establish a breed. And he chooses for the template to be Wyoming, which was a corso. And so with Pario, his selection of dogs were the true Molossola dogs. Excuse me. Now you have others that argue and say that there were other breeders, which they were, that had the watchman's dog that had more of the dewlaps on the face, which is not the traditional dog. I'm going to repeat that, which is not the traditional look of the dog. Molossolas do not have excessive dewlaps on the face. That stuff comes from bulldogs. being bred to pugs. I'm gonna repeat that. It comes from bulldogs being bred to pugs.